All right, so we are going to talk about the weapon Deathmatch. Now, the reason that I want to talk about this weapon is because it seems like it's actually going to be a fairly good weapon on Arlecchino, and it's the weapon that I currently have on my Arlecchino. So in this video, we're going to talk about this weapon's main stats, its passive, and who it can be good for. So it does get up crit rate, which is going to be very, very good for Arlecchino because she gets crit damage with Ascension. Its passive, if there are at least 2 enemies nearby, then it's going to increase attack and defense by 16%. If there are less than 2 enemies nearby, it's going to increase attack by 24%. So this is going to be really good because you're going to be getting an attack buff on your character, which Arlecchino would greatly, greatly appreciate, as well as the crit rate. We are going to go find some enemies. We are going to see what happens with her stats upon being near multiple enemies versus being near one enemy. Okay, so if we teleport to an area with multiple enemies and we run up to them, so if we go near them, our attack is 450 and our defense is 486. If we go up to something like the Cryoregifine, so that way we only have one enemy nearby, and then we check her stats, then her attack is gonna be 470 and her defense is gonna be 431. So that is the difference between having multiple enemies nearby versus only one enemy nearby. So now we're going to talk about some different characters that it can be good for. Also ignore the YouTube chat over here. I accidentally left it up from the live, sorry. So people on TikTok won't be able to see it. So now, before we look at the characters that this weapon is good for, let's talk about how to get this weapon. This weapon is a battle pass weapon, unfortunately, which means that you have to pay to unlock the Gnostic Hymn. Whenever you do that and you get your battle pass up to level 30, you will get an option, you'll get a choice as to one of multiple weapons. Deathmatch is one of these weapons. This is the only possible way to get this weapon, unfortunately. But it looks great on Arlecchino. You're guaranteed to get it if you get to level 30. So it's not, to me, it's a better option than pulling for her banner. So now we're gonna look at who it can be good for. Obviously, Arlecchino. One, the aesthetics match beautifully. It looks great on Arlecchino. But the crit rate's going to be very good because Arlecchino is going to really like crit rate because she gets crit damage with Ascension. She's going to like the attack because she deals a lot of damage through her attack, and her self-healing with her burst is based through her attack as well. She'll also like the defense with multiple enemies because that means that she's taking less damage when you can't heal her. So that will be a good thing for Arlecchino. Now, another character that might be able to use it is going to be like Raiden, mainly the attack and the crit rate, if you can get enough ER on her, and if you don't want to get the catch. I think Favonius might still be a little better, but if you can get above 220 ER without an ER weapon, then Deathmatch can be good for her. She'll like the attack, she'll like the crit rate. Still think catch is going to outperform pretty much anything, and that's going to be true for the next 2 characters as well, being Rosaria, especially if you're running like emblem off-field damage freeze Rosaria, which is a long title to put on Rosaria, but you want Rosaria's crit rate to get as high as possible, right? You want it to get to at least 100% or to 100% with her passive to pass it on to other characters. This weapon is going to give a lot of crit rate. It gives over 30% crit rate at level 90, which is going to be very, very good for helping Rosaria get up to 100% crit rate. She'll also like the attack. This is going to be good as long as you can keep enough ER on her from like a Sans, so that way you can just have her burst up pretty much all the time. Next is going to be Xiangling, who, very much like Raiden, the catch is going to outperform Deathmatch, but Xiangling will appreciate the attack percent and the crit rate. Now, this weapon's passive does work if your character's not on the field, like with Rosaria or with Xiangling. They still get that attack buff. The other battle pass weapon, one that I actually have on Xiangling, Battle of the Fjord, would be better in a Vaporizer Melt team, but if you're in like a mono pyro team, or if you're just in a team where you're not caring about the reaction itself, then I believe Deathmatch would be better than Ballad of the Fjord. Next, we're going to look at Hu Tao. This is another character where the aesthetic does match Hu Tao, and if you cannot get Dragon's Bane, if you have not been lucky enough to get Dragon's Bane, then running Deathmatch on Hu Tao can be very good. She will like the crit rate over the attack, but still getting some crit rate onto her will be good. Next, we have Zhao, and because this weapon is a lot like Primordial Jade Spear, This is like a watered down version of it. This can be pretty good on Zhao as well. The crit rate, the attack increase, everything is going to be good for Zhao. He'll be able to use all of it. Lastly, we have Sino, which he will mainly enjoy the crit rate, not as much of the attack. Depending on what set you're running him on, you may have wanted EM, in which case Ballad of the Fjord might be better because of the increase in EM, but he can still definitely make use of the crit rate. That is going to be it for this video. If you have any questions, do be sure to leave it down in the comments. Myself or somebody else will be sure to answer, and I'll see you in the next one.